qualifier and directly into a spot at SI 2022, or is Parabellum prepared to pull off the reverse sweep and win 3 maps in a row to bring themselves into that position? We'll be finding out very, very soon as we have the first bans coming through, and the first one this time is going to be Maverick. The selection from PB comes
different, something fresh. I'm all about this. I do think that that's something that Chala, especially when he made that role switch, is something he has done pretty darn consistently so far, and it's worked out for TSM, so the fact that we're not seeing it here is a bit of an issue, but you're still able to work over hatches pretty effectively. And TSM also banning the Ying, again, something Parabellum, when they need to use it, if they want to try to like reset the pace, the tone somewhat, they'll bring a Ying and they'll give it a good old college try, but not to do so here. TSM, for their own part, can also utilize Ying, but they're okay with it not being something that they have to rely upon if they're in a tricky situation. Yep, again, another Valkyrie ban. 50-50 coin flip on whether it's Kaid or it's Mira in this case.
We'll be seeing in a second.
Flip the coin.
And it's the more predictable, in my opinion, of the two.
I mean,
we're going to end up with a Mira ban, ultimately, at the end of the day there. So yeah, like we were saying at the beginning of the series, Defender ban still remaining fairly static for the most part up throughout the course of this tournament, of course. And then now our attacker bans vary up a little bit, mainly just because of the map we're heading into. You kind of, you don't need the ban out Ying here, but it's certainly a much better ban here than anywhere else due to how much we have seen Ying play become a standard here, specifically for basement attacks.
One final trip into the abyss for TSM. All they need is one win on Oregon, something they've already collected against PB earlier this weekend, and they are heading to the 6th Invitational, and John and I will get to scream, hey, TSM's going back to SI, because it just feels as though a 6th Invitational without TSM just feels wrong. The highest placing North American team at both of the past 6 Invitationals, 4th place last year, 3rd place the year before that. Even if it means they go to SI and they get 5th or something this year, that might be the best chance North America's got, simply based on a decreasing trend. Certainly hope that they're able to get there if they really put Parabellum to task, but still, it would also feel wrong if Parabellum didn't make it, because they were the underdog story of the century when they went to SI last year. So in a lot of cases for NA fans, this still kind of is a bit of a lose-lose.
Yeah, for TSM, though, they have been missing out big time on their performances at major events outside of SI inside of 2021. We had the unfortunate turn of events where Merc was not really able to field himself properly with the team during Mexico, and they didn't even make it to Sweden, unfortunately, so they are fighting hard for an opportunity to show themselves on the international stage one more time here before the 2021-22 season is fully complete, and we reset heading into the 2022-23 season. Away from that, though, the first round has begun. We're going to be holding things off in the predictable position downstairs in the basement here, but that does not mean we are only going to have defense down there. As you can see, quite an extension from Parabellum, going not only to the first floor, but at least one player maintaining positioning up on the second floor as well, as they really want to keep the pressure on TSM and waste a whole bunch of time here inside of the first minute and a half or so.
Drone work from TSM so far has been pretty impeccable over the course of this series. They've got their roles defined. They know who's meant to be droning, and Kool-Aid's just trying to be a disruption inside Kitchen. He wants the first kill before the first minute of this map has even gone off the board. And right now, it's just him in a fight against Bolo, maybe some frags, and instead it'll be Spirits up top. I didn't even know he was positioned there. I thought Bolo was trying to take care of Kool-Aid, and instead, he'll find 2 kills before one round has even gone by, or 1 minute rather. And so far, that's 2 of the top performers from PB. He's going to start this one off just like he did on Bank with 3 kills. Can he make it 4 or 5? Shotgun from around the corner will take him down to more than half his HP, but Kool-Aid knows better than to challenge that. He's going to come away from this fight, at the very least, with his life. But now, Bolo again can just kind of heal himself back up periodically over the next little while. They do know that someone's still top freezer stairs, so it seems like TSM have this one locked in. It's going to be really interesting to see how Melted and Kool-Aid try to claw this round back in their advantage.
Bolo continuing to maintain position here. Now that the full advantage has been brought under the control of TSM at a 5v2, not really a whole lot for them to worry about, but as we've seen in multiple rounds where they've had this type of advantage, they're also not one to over-push themselves when they get it, because Melton and Kool-Aid have proven themselves capable players to come back in clutch fashion from these types of scenarios time and time again, so they want to take this as cautiously as possible to ensure a lack of any issues in terms of clearing out these last 2. So back to the drone work primarily here, and also importantly watching the hatches as much as they can to see if they'll catch maybe a tad of over-aggression from anyone on Parabellum, but it's not really revealing itself. They've also stolen a drone away, which is a good reason they still have Melted alive here, so that's actually a nice little tool they'll have in this very scary situation they are currently facing, just kind of waiting out the potential impact to come in from TSM, and it might be on the precipice of coming soon. They've made the transition down. Kool-Aid nearly gets caught by the player on the back stairs. Melted, though, with a nice Nitro, ends the rain lane of Bolo, but Merc immediately exchanges that out against Kool-Aid and Melted. Well, that's too much crossfire to handle, unfortunately. He'll go down to Kool-Aid, and that will be, or excuse me, Kool-Aid will go down, and that will be a solid first round once again for TSM.
Yeah, these guys aren't the kind of team who, when they understand how much of a man count advantage they've got, if it's a 5-3, 5-2, even 5-1, they're not going to push recklessly into spots they don't have droned already. They're taking things systematically. They're not acting simply off of impulse, and if they do, it's something that they do reliably with drones in their face. They know how fast they're able to move through a bomb site. It isn't like a case where if for some reason they have a massive advantage that they're just going to say, you know what, find these last couple of kills. That's the kind of thing that you'll pull in a ranked game sometimes. If there's only one man up and all of a sudden you have the risk of throwing your life away or even the entire round, TSM have that on lock. And even though PB managed to get one kill still on the back end of that round, it all matters for naught. It's just for stat padding. And TSM on attack on Oregon are already beginning to set the pace.
So TSM building up that solid lead, and Parabellum going to double down on the basement defense. More than likely expecting, specifically looking at the operator lineup, to go to a much more traditional turtle hold in the basement itself. But I'll hold my breath on that for a few moments and see what things are going to look like after the next 30 seconds have gone by. So we already have quite a few players extending out for that, but you can see Kool-Aid specifically setting up for the extended construction hold over there, one that we definitely see players lean into more often than not when it comes into holding this one, as you can still aggressively fend off the presence from the attackers inside of construction itself, without adding too much risk to the player that is pushed out from that half wall. Not to mention, you're usually given enough time to back up and then add the extra reinforcement to that wall should you lose the deployable shield. And this is on top of all the normal bits of aggression that would be thrown at that door from Pillar too. So it's really just an addendum on something that is already pretty well secured for the defense. But here we go, and it is indeed looking like the large majority of Parabellum is going to be sticking around in the basement this time. So much more of a default hold here.
Default and just by standard of the site, but really weird in the context of Parabellum, who usually like to have somebody off site. Like, if they don't, it almost seems like they're doing something wrong, but they can still hold positions like in anchor spots rather than getting super aggro. And it's almost like Bolo kind of expected somebody to be top freezer or somewhere in Z, and then he got kills from here previously, but now there's nobody for him to worry about, so he can bring his drone back down, as he understands most players from Parabellum are in the basement complex, and the rest of TSM has already obtained all of this map control. The thing about this now is I don't want TSM to just realize, oh hey, we've got the top 2 floors, that's great, and then wait until the last couple of seconds of a round to really make an execute. I want them to take advantage of maybe a Parabellum player being separated from the rest of his teammates or something and pushing quickly even when Parabellum doesn't expect it. You've got time to work with and you have map control, so you've got the ability to do this.
Bolo continuing to wait out for the appropriate moment to swing into Freezer and begin putting that pressure in. We were still very early days on the round overall here, so TSM will not be feeling that pressure for quite some time here. As things go down, still with a minute and a half remaining, they still have half the round to make these pushes. But regardless, Chala has worked himself down the trophy staircase also, not trophy, excuse me, the laundry staircase here to put himself closer to the site also. Parabellum are not shifting an inch here despite those little blips and lots of damage they have taken. They will score the first kill this time, as Spirits is going to be able to find the pressure on the back stairs working itself in from Achieved, and Penguin similarly is going to catch Bolo, a much more solid hold coming out here from Parabellum on the second basement hole.
Untradeable kills, man. TSM are usually really good at ensuring that if they lose somebody, they trade someone back, but it isn't something that they can do in this case against PB, who still hold the same positions that they were in when TSM tried to make that advance, and especially losing Bolo and Achieve that quickly, both of whom were top frags for their team over the past 2 maps, is a really hard pill to swallow. It'll now just be Chala on the ace, who's got a contest with at least 2 people who can kill him from Freezer's side, but it looks like TSM with Diffuser are still trying to make something happen down main stairs, but they're caught in that kill box that's now being filled with gas from smoke, and it might be a futile attempt to really get this Diffuser down, maybe really their only actual attempt onto the site here, and even that is going to force them to rotate back away from it, as Chala in Freezer can get a headshot. That's cool, but what are you going to do for the rest of this round? It looks like an E-box hatch drop here.
Really creep towards it too to avoid giving off the footstep noise that would come from above. And oh, they just sneak right in. Eska's not ready for this. Geo takes him out. Merc gets a kill too. Now Merc's been handled by Kool-Aid, but at the same time, we are in an even fight, and the M590's not close enough. Geo wins another engagement. Suddenly it's on Penguin, but both of the TSM players are 1 shot, if not 2 shot here. He just got to creep up, finish them up, but no, Chala's got the coverage, and TSM get the round again.
Oh my god! There's no way! Dude, Kool-Aid did not trust that shotgun with his life. He didn't believe in it, and he whiffed. Geo off the E-Box hatch drop has it perfectly scouted until he runs right into the bomb site, gets the plant down, and I was really concerned for a second. Chala was going to look the wrong direction. He finally does look over into the hallway, and he nabs the final kill. TSM are taking Parabellum all the way to the bank. They are doing everything they can in spite of Parabellum's very good defensive plan. You don't need every member of TSM left alive because they will still find a way to pull rounds like this back that are usually unwinnable for teams at this skill level, but TSM so far in this series are proving they are leagues above.
Just a slow walk from TSM to creep up on that meeting room hatch, and they
That's
drop
the best crouch
right
walk
in.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, really. You rarely see that used to such a heavy degree, but TSM does it flawlessly there, catching the members of Parabellum off guard. Specifically, I think Eska was the one holding around the corner from construction there and doing beautiful work. Holding in the other round, but not able to fend off that two-player push through the hatch, so TSM steal a second round away. Parabellum, they don't really have a choice. They're not going to dare to go for a third reattempt on the same site that it would be half of this entire half used just to try and win a single site. So they're going to move away from that finally and head to the upstairs hold here in Kids to try and see if they can finally net themselves an offensive round on this site.
God, I'm wondering what the overall collective issue might be for Parabellum. There are flashes of greatness, flashes of the normal Parabellum that we see, but maybe it's a confidence problem. Something internally is just shifted into the red for PB over the past couple of maps here. Even though they did have a very decisive map 3 against One Shot, since then, that's the only real time they've had a decisive lead or a skid or any real semblance of momentum. They can bring some things back momentarily, but it just feels like there's some overall disconnect in this squad preventing them from reaching the same level. They're allowing Bolo to get in the exact same spot in this hallway every single time. He's found kills in the first round. It feels like it's just systematic elimination from TSM FTX. They're doing a phenomenal job of clearing everyone from Parabellum out, regardless if there's a roam or a heavy anchor setup. We're only 2 rounds into Oregon, but still, you're setting the pace of your TSM.
Spirits and Merc still waiting to try and find each other out here, but Spirits has actually given up his position entirely, and I believe rotated down to the basement through a hatch to try and re-rotate back up, and indeed that is the case. He's going to try to re-push up through Laundry, and he won't be alone in this hold either. Eska is also nearby in Classroom currently, so lots of aggressive pressure out from the site, and out from even the site's floor here, still built up for Parabellum, as they try to find trickier ways to get earlier kills against TSM and remove that potential execute utility that might come in here over the next few moments as TSM is inching closer and closer towards the site. They've already got control over their big window play and are starting to drone things out to maybe start to take control towards the back kid's stairs here. We'll see if that'll indeed be the case, as they're also looking to open up another angle over here towards the attic, of course, as well.
Kind of all over the place, but this is something TSM absolutely can work with. Not the really splintered, just disjointed kind of attack that you might see some other teams go for. These guys are locked in a Vulcan mind meld, and you know for a fact they're going to keep on working together, even if for some reason it doesn't look like it. So for right now, maybe Spirits and Achieved coming to blows to start things off. It'll be Achieved to win that fight. That's an easy headshot, and Penguin also down. I think that might have been from Big Window. So all of a sudden, there's even a bigger advantage now. TSM having 2 minutes off the board here matters a lot for having those first 2 frags. It means that whatever approach vector they can take can't really be stifled by Parabellum unless they get a couple of really good kills back, and Kool-Aid and Melted do exactly that here.
It's the cutoff as well that helps out with this here, as they have a Toxic Babe go down directly on top of the big window, so that angle cannot be supported by TSM anymore. Melted now able to find the frag against the Chief, and suddenly Parabellum is in control of this round as it's brought down to a 3v2. Chala trying to juggle between 2 different angles here, as well as he hopes to find another kill to even things out at a 2v2, but is not going to be able to find it. Gio's now found an opponent. He can't even directly push the bedroom door anymore, so suddenly this is looking very, very rough for TSM after all of the early round action was looking incredibly promising for them, but once again, struggling to move it on his site. That is until Gio gets in the fight, though. Ace is out on a Kool-Aid. Eska goes down, and Gio with another beautiful headshot to bring it all home for TSM as they steal a second consecutive round right out of the hands of PB.
Parabellum have a massive man count lead, TSM's still going to win. If TSM have a massive man count lead and Parabellum equalize, TSM's still going to win. Find a scenario where TSM have been incapable of clawing back either a clutchable moment or a disadvantageous moment against this Parabellum squad, and you can't find a moment where they've lost it completely. The mental is still there. The angles can be held. They're killing TSM players by shooting them in the back. The rotations are impeccable, and yet again, we're seeing Parabellum in a massive hole. TSM only need 4 rounds, and they're going to SI.
TSM absolutely storming their way through these rounds right now. And once again, things look so close for Parabellum as they had great control, great utility usage specifically coming out from the smoke there as well to block off the big window access. But again, once it had all faded away, once TSM was able to reanalyze and re-drone the situation, they find out where those 3 remaining players are, and it is Gio that acts as a huge proponent to get himself up the white stairs and into a position where he can frag out not only the player holding the angle from Kids that was blocking off Achieved as well, but also cut off the player inside of the small dorms to his right. Also, beautiful work from him. And once again, Gio is dominating at this point here. 3 rounds played out. He's gotten an average of 2 kills in every single round, and he hasn't even died yet.
It feels like his situational awareness is just at the top of the charts. It's the highest point it's ever been at. Both of the last 2 rounds, he's involved in said clutch, whether you're crib walking down to E-Box hatch or you're making a rotate from big window to white stairs, whatever it might be, Gio is involved in said clutches. He understands even if you have to make a rotate with less than 30 seconds left, it's going to work if the rest of the team works in tandem. But finally, something goes in Parabellum's favor. Bolo dies first. That's a nice start. Keep this kind of thing up if you're Parabellum, because everyone else on TSM is capable of just ruining your day.
Bolo with a very bold push there inside of the first 30 seconds of the round, trying to move himself all the way up through the main stairs, up past Armory, but he's going to be caught out very early on there. So finally an advantage going over to PB to build off of here, and unfortunately will remove the Finka also, so he's going to take out those Adrenal Surges, the nice range res capability, as well as that nice little health boost that could have been useful to some of these players later on in the round. Not to mention the frags going away too, although Achieve still has 2 of his own to try and make up for that a little bit, and of course the Zofia has still been brought to deal with some of that utility also.
Hopefully the rest of TSM are capable of moving through this map without the high of those Adrenal Surges that they've been very used to as this series has gone on. It's very rare to find TSM in a moment without a Finka in play, so they should be able to execute just fine without it, assuming Merc is back to his old fragging ways. Speak of the devil, and he's there. Penguin is no longer in play, and Merc now can make an approach upstairs if he so feels. He doesn't have to worry about the staircase so much. Spirits might be tempted to run out and see if there's somebody on Rappel for an easy kill, but he'll stick back momentarily as the rest of Parabellum tried to keep on assessing the situation. The wall is still shut. You can't get the electrical off it just yet because the opportunity has not presented itself, and there isn't classroom presence, but Spirits now decide to swing back towards Master is exactly what's required, but Merc is also there to ensure Melted has nothing else to do in this round. Achieved only 1 HP. Spirits is still alive. He's got rotate potential now, which is going to force Achieved to really rethink the way that he wants to figure out where Spirits is. He's kind of second guessing himself, but Shala is still putting in the work. We're only in a 2v2. This is still winnable for TSM so long as Achieved doesn't touch that wall.
Yeah, that's the problem for Achieved here. Right now, he's got a sliver of HP remaining here. He's got to be so cautious. You can see he's just sitting on the outside of the building watching the small window right now to try and make sure if anyone crosses it, he can quickly pop off the headshot to at least give them that ultimate 2v1 advantage they might need. They can maybe just throw Achieved in there for the trade and have Chala finish the goal. But even Chala down at half HP, that would be a bit of a bold strategy to even go for something like that. They need to be so cautious. You can see they're just inching the drones in right now to try and see if maybe they can figure out the positioning of Kool-Aid or Eska, but not revealing a whole lot. Might have been able to spot one of the players from that, but Achieved finally rotating himself around. Is going to take up position in the attic with 15 seconds left. We're going to see all the Toxic Babes get juggled out here also. You can see utility being shuffled through. Kool-Aid's going to hold the angle in a tight fashion, but that potentially allows not for Achieved to pick up the kill. Instead, it's all going to go Kool-Aid's way as Parabellum holds strong, and they pick up the round instead.
Man, that's what I was worried about. With Chala on 1 HP, he just walks right into smoke even if he's on a push. I don't even know if Kool-Aid knew where he was. He just chokes to death inside attic. Oh, curse of 1 HP. He came close. I do feel like TSM had some winning potential there, but if Chala had more HP, you know what? If Finka doesn't die, we don't have this problem. That's what it feels like, because he could have just gotten healed up, kept the HP, and now we're in a position where TSM it would perfectly be in clutch potential, but it was not to be. So that initial pick onto Bolo actually ends up being more influential than I think Parabellum might have estimated once this one got underway.
Certainly still plenty of potential for TSM to bounce right back into into this, though, even when you just look at the site we are heading back to. If you remember back from earlier on in the game, or you happen to not be with us, it was played twice by Parabellum, and both rounds, the second one, of course, being very, very close, were won by TSM. So Parabellum is yet to even find a victory here, but they don't have a choice anymore. They also played the upstairs hold twice and have a 50-50 record now on that one with the most recent rounds. They're going to have to hope they can negotiate finally one for themselves here, which would then force them onto one of the two first floor sites to try and get themselves into a tie point at 3-3.
Yeah, knowing what Parabellum has done on attack just over the course of today in that series against One Shot, and understanding that Oregon has a defensive swing and TSM have already won half of their rounds on their attack, still makes this look like Parabellum are behind. There doesn't really seem to be much saving grace for them aside from that one round that they finally clawed back, and even then it was a 2v2 scenario by the numbers, and TSM had an equal opportunity to win the round as we got into those dying seconds. So for PB, please tell me that your mental is still there. You've still got some hope that you can do this. You're not allowed, gentlemen, to be down in the dumps on yourselves, because if you do, TSM is about to steamroll over you, and that would be a really embarrassing way to win to lose a best of 5. Even though it's in 3 maps, you don't just want to go out with a whimper.
Well, here we go, already 30 seconds gone from the round. It's been relatively inactive so far. Parabellum has taken what is, in my opinion, going to be the smart setup here. Of the two they did try to play out, that extended game, unfortunately, didn't lead to a whole lot of successful results, and TSM immediately started tearing that apart, even just with simple frag positioning. So they're going to end up going back into the Turtle League, kind of default here for the basement, which plenty of other teams have kind of fallen back on in recent times. So we've seen that become the mainstay for this site. Chal and the rest of TSM obviously watching out for quick flank watches here if anybody tries to play any tricks on them from the stairs, but more than likely won't be happening, as TSM will now be able to move forward and begin their transition down into the basement once they have opened up these remaining hatches.
Sheesh, a Thatcher being played in this qualifier? I didn't think I was going to live to see it. That's insane. But it does go to Merc, which makes sense given the role that he's playing, and so it will look at both of these Electroclawed hatches should get opened here, the one in security and the one on E-Box, preparing TSM pretty well for whatever drop they should attempt. As soon as we really get underway, we're only about halfway into the round, and still it's mostly util clear. It's ensuring that the Kaid can't really be used to full effect. We are actually finally seeing that, but even it doesn't have that much staying power because the Thatcher is still in play here. So Bolo is capable of holding things off from Freezer, E-Box hatch, maybe even main or backstairs. TSM can really take this approach from several different angles all at the same time. Ooh, a little bit of a misnade there, I think is what we were just saying.
Whiffed frag, and it took out one of their drones, too, so it's actually a pretty massive deficit in terms of utility. They're down to 5 drones left, so it's not the end of the world. They certainly could still throw a few more out, but one additional one was also lost, trying to work itself down the stairs as Spirit sits right there. They know Spirits is going to be playing close to the pillar, or Harry Potter here, so he'll continue to maintain that position, but Achieved is probably not going to be the most confident person when pushing this staircase due to the last 30 seconds or so of events, and there's a lot of resistance coming in from Parabellum that will certainly try to stop him if he goes for this, but regardless, the time will force that upon them. Spirits getting caught out. Merc not able to finish off the kill, and now a Toxic Babe blocks his path. If he wants to try and force it, he can, but he'll have to very quickly back up. Spirits makes a mistake, though, by stepping out, and Bolo picks up a second kill immediately afterwards with a frag against Melted. So once again, set up for a 5v3, but with limited time, Parabellum could still win this in the chaos of the entries. Here we go, with 17 seconds left. As they push their way forward here, Bolo's gonna get down, but not finished. Eska does that job instead. The rest of the team rotates in, but it's Eska again to get the second kill, falling it to Geo as well as Chala, as Penguin takes care of Geo. Now it's all on Chala in a 1v2. Nearly takes out Eska, but the shotgun from Kool-Aid works out this time. And finally, Parabellum negotiate themselves a successful basement defense on their third attempt.
Yep, that one was definitely more definitive. We didn't look at a scenario that was a potential clutch for TSM until the very end, when Parabellum finally breaks through, finds enough kills back-to-back to ensure that there isn't clutch potential. It's an easy 1v3, and as soon as they all converge on the last player, which is Chala, in spite of him being an expert, a crack shot, that's not enough to overcome the absolute swarm of PB in the dying seconds of said round. This is exactly what they need to get back into this game overall. If they can get maybe a 3-3 half on this, it will look infinitely better when they shift over to attack. Even though we have concerns about the way that they do that, focus on the here and now. Focus on round 5. Don't think about what's about to happen in the future. It's our job to do that. All you need is winning here on Dining, and hopefully you won't be in nearly as much of a hole. TSM, for their own part, despite losing that round, still not the end of the world, because they know the advantage they're about to go into in the next half.
So for Parabellum, they are going to be put into a much better situation now with 2 consecutive rounds finally going into their favor, finally figuring out how to waste all the time inside of this round and force TSM into an execute, where unfortunately they're walking right into the utility and right into the player base of Parabellum, as we've seen this transpire in 2 separate rounds now, not to mention their ability to kind of cut off a few pivotal players here when the entry begins, which slows down TSM even further as well. It's great work coming out from Parabellum, and now they're going to try and, as Jacob said, to try and even things out at a 3-3 scoreline, but it is going to need to be on a first floor hold, which is normally the weakest site for most defensive teams. We'll see if that'll indeed be the case here for Parabellum, as they look to equalize things here with a nice extension coming out from Penguin, as he's going to try to hold small tower here with a Goyo shield supporting it.
Yeah, they tried running this one before, but they ran it as bait. They put all the util upstairs in small tower, but they didn't have anybody really holding it. They just put it all upstairs, and it meant that one shot were forced to go up and clear it. But now they are having the Goyo at least stick around in small tower, so even if you try to clear said util, there will be somebody with a gun there on a window to see if they can't pop ahead, and they might just be able to do that because Penguin, in spite of being killed early, is still on the money today so far with the shots that he's hit. So TSM need to worry, or at least be like aware of what's happening in small tower, but a lot of this approach might just say, you know what, we don't have to worry about it if we just go straight into kitchen, but they also are looking to obtain meeting control, so they may hyper focus on that one side, maybe put another body back towards small tower and opening up maybe like Showers wall or something. But for the moment, look at how much of this push is congested just from the north side moving to kitchen right now.
Yeah, we can see no meeting room site being played here either. This is going to be inside of cafeteria, so TSM potentially pushing themselves towards a very, very rough choke point. This is going to be the game plan here, but plenty of time to vary this or change it up, as we still have over half the round remaining. About to approach that halfway point, though, and here will be the second point of entry as they're going to open up this reinforced wall leading into the kitchen. There won't be any disruption upon that either, so Kool-Aid has to back away from his security position, go to the deployable shield sitting on the other side. Achieve with a nice bank on this nade. Should have been able to net some good damage, but none being done, unfortunately, as the player Eska is able to move away from that just in the nick of time to avoid the large majority of it.
These vertical holes from Eska are also going to be a real pain in the look at how it's handled on the meeting wall itself. Just because you have it open doesn't mean that you'll be able to move into it fast, which means Eska has to get cleared out here. It's not that they're expending resources on small tower, it's going towards making sure the vertical control for Parabellum doesn't last for all that much longer. So if they can get Eska out of this position, they will be looking way, way prettier, but it's not just him. He's also got support from a Jaeger upstairs. If you move through that hole now, you risk putting yourself in a really bad spot if Eska kills you from above, but Achieved is about to do that if possible. He just goes up, finds the kill in the window, then gets right back into the hallway, and TSM are beginning to set themselves up beautifully right now.
Merc as well, able to help out Shaw a little bit, but he himself now going to be put into a dodgy situation that actually Achieved will become the victim of Penguin, able to find the next kill here for Parabellum by taking him out. Penguin as well getting the cross for a moment there from, I believe it was Geo running towards the threshold, but not going to be able to take the shot on him at this point in time. Penguin taking one bullet for himself as he lurks back in, and there we go, finishes off onto Merc. So they're coming back into this. Chala, regardless, though, committing himself to the plan as he does with the support from Geo, but no, Spirits comes back in and shuts him down as well, and the Planters going down also. Bolo as well as Geo now down for the count, and Chala left alone in a 1v3, but he does have case control down on the ground, and he's got a slight angle to play into it, but he peeks directly out into Spirits. It's a solid retake from Parabellum, and they stay in the fight as they tie us up at 3-3.
God, they needed this, but is it going to be enough? It's a 3-round to 3-round differential for both squads, and that's how we end the first half. But still, in spite of that, TSM could have won 2 of the rounds over the course of that half, and it just means that Parabellum have to be extremely cautious when working on their attack strategy. The score might say it's even, but TSM moving on to this half is something Parabellum have to overcome mentally. They'll have to be quick and agile and understanding of where all of the members of TSM are constantly through this half, ensuring that roam games don't shut them down early. TSM are kind of taking a little bit of a playbook out of, like from Parabellum. Whoever has the more aggressive roam may just end up winning this map overall. For PB, it was kind of fine. They won like a good portion of sites when they were just worrying about playing anchor setups, but for TSM, they've got a little bit of flexibility. They just can't let this one get away from them.
TSM keeping things on even numbers here as they're able to negotiate 3 rounds inside of the first half. Now it's time to see what the defensive end will potentially net them here as they go right into the bunker setup. Not going to be messing around with any sort of extended crazy play here in the basement. They just go right into the usual forms of what you would expect, with a castle also being added into this for Geo as well to provide some additional support in terms of blocking off a few angles so that their first floor aggression can stay alive for a few extra seconds longer, specifically over here on the inside of the kitchen and security rooms where we usually see that player get positioned for the first minute or so. Try and maybe get lucky with an opening kill, but at worst case, just waste some time and fall back through the hatch.
It feels like some of the mistakes that were made in that first half was Parabellum being, you know what, all right, we lost 3 straight, and we understand the kind of fixes that we can make. In this case, TSM really need to hone in on how this defense works, because Parabellum, when TSM end up winning a round, that site, when it gets locked out, and then 2 rounds later, TSM go back to it, PB are going to understand the things about TSM's setup that didn't work well the last time, relay that information to the IGL Penguin, he'll figure out how to work around it, the things that did and didn't work from the previous round. So TSM need to keep on being unpredictable with how they play these defenses as well, and Spirits and the rest of Parabellum simply need to move fast and do the unexpected to catch TSM off guard. So it's definitely a mental cat and mouse game here.
Fortunate turn of events, the opening seconds of the round, specifically for Chala, loses one of his Toxic Babes that I believe was shot out there as you saw him misfire on the trigger. And then on top of that, his deployable shield, I believe also the ADS that was blocking off nades for him got killed by that too. So I saw a little sparkle in the corner that's no longer there. So I'm pretty sure Chala has lost his entire defensive setup in a matter of seconds, but he's still sticking with it until he probably senses the aggression working its way down. Melted also here, going to work his way forward. Keep in mind, of course, he still has that extra reinforcement to just throw that wall right back up as he falls back, so that will more than likely be what happens. But the real story here is Bolo still holding a meeting room right now for a few extra seconds, but has been ultimately caught, and so is Merc. So not a great start here. No, now Achieve goes down as well. TSM are just falling apart at the seams here inside of their first defensive round, as it's fallen all to Geo and Chala in a 2v5.
Wow, that's what I was looking for, a Parabellum to aggress like that, and all of a sudden TSM, they can still recover. They've proven that Geo and Chala specifically are able to hold the fort down as just a 2-man piece. But how fast Parabellum now move, understanding their advantage is going to be the catalyst to this round. Don't throw anything away. They've decided to play things very conservatively. Penguin's got the long angle on Geo, and it's all up to Chala. 5 kills to find. He doesn't even have diffuser down. Nades are coming in. Can't find anything. Parabellum finally, after so much time on Oregon spent doing almost nothing, are showing some promise on this map.
A lot of firsts there, as I believe this is not only the first flawless round of the series, but also the first time I'm pretty sure that Parabellum now has the lead for themselves also inside of a map. So some great stuff for them as they are finally able to overcome the disadvantage that TSM has been throwing on them throughout the previous 2 maps and potentially take the lead to push us onto our 4th and maybe even 5th map here. They still need 3 more, however, to solidify things as we inch closer and closer and further into this second half. Only the first round, though, for TSM, and they are not feeling the reattempt on the basement due to how one-sided that first attempt was. I would tend to agree with it, so they're going to head upstairs here to Kids instead.
2 different 6 picks. We're seeing different soft destruction selected. No more Buck in favor of the Sledge, so additional nades on PB side. Again, something that they've really favored. There's 6 nades in their back pocket to use for this attack. And on the opposite side of things, we are seeing a Melusi brought back in. So TSM looking for said stall tactics. They're not going to play a roam nearly as aggressively as PB is. And by aggressively, we mean combatively. We mean going off site, looking specifically to find a kill as opposed to simply wasting your opponent's time and making sure that the attack can't properly execute because of said timing problems. PB, in spite of being a team that on attack has some slight disconnects every once in a while, can still really quickly get to the bomb site if their lives truly depend on it, and at the very least make things interesting by comparison to some other teams they've played in CL who have massive glaring issues in that regard. These guys absolutely understand how crucial timing can get, but because we're playing something like a Melusi, there's also a smoke and a castle in play. TSM are doing everything they can to keep Parabellum out.
Parabellum back in the fight here, but TSM certainly going to look to resist this. Is having a very similar lineup of operators to the table for their second hold upstairs. To the Goyo Shield, a new addition, as they will be trying to once again slow things down from Parabellum, as once the aggression started for them on that basement assault, it never really stopped, and TSM could not win a single fight, which is uncharacteristic of their performance up until this point inside of the series. Also just quickly using the Gone 6 to deal with some of these reinforcements upstairs. is also going to move down it fairly quickly also. But we've got Kool-Aid quickly working on opening up at least the first pair of attic walls, and that'll go off without a hitch as we have no form of blockade against that from the defensive side. Now, however, they still need to push against the actual setup from players like Merc, and more than likely assistance could come in from either Achieved or the Kids player also. So Merc still has a lot of work cut out for him as Parabellum is potentially flirting with this push fairly soon. It's not just going to be Kool-Aid either. He's got support from at least one additional player trying to move down through attic.
Yeah, I'm liking this pace. It looked like Parabellum could be playing at least slightly scared for a couple of those rounds that they inevitably won on defense, but it wasn't that they're playing scared. It's more that they're playing safe and smart. So far, even though they haven't gotten any kills left and Merc might be in a really bad spot here, how does he not get caught to the rotate? He finally does. Melton was looking that way. PB, even though in some rounds they might not get entry frags, are still doing a fantastic job of pacing themselves appropriately. They're obtaining very fast map control, and they're relying on drones, but they're taking time to do it adequately and safely without really exposing themselves to all that much risk. And TSM, for their own part, aren't really exposing themselves on bad angles or anything very often, assuming that they can hear if somebody's on a rappel in the first place. But Parabellum are just pacing themselves expertly right now.
Wow. Another nice nade immediately deals with the second reinforcement working its way to the inside of Kids. That's Chala. Has no response, unfortunately, to the action thrown out against him there as the utility has gone and has been dealt with another nade kill as well. This time catching Geo. TSM do not know how to handle this aggression right now and are just bowing down to it as Parabellum walk their way into a second site. A potential third frag grenade kill going to come out. Achieved finally able to respond to that as the nades go way too far against him, and Achieved also gets one against Eska here. So we're not out of it just yet, as Achieved is able to get one more before going down. No, he's still in it as well. He's lost Bolo though, so now being alone in the 1v2. He'll peek around the corner where finally Kool-Aid is ready for the battle, and Parabellum can secure another round for themselves.
Well, it seems like Parabellum fixed that nade problem. Not that he was even a problem. Sometimes if you're using them, you're doing it to clear utility, but for the love of God, it really does seem like this entire situation for TSM is not going the way that they were looking. Like, in particular, Parabellum on those nade kills is doing a fantastic job of just setting the pace overall. Again, you don't want that many nade kills around, but it's forcing TSM on a top floor bomb site back into core. Decided to shift things up a little bit. They've gone with a slightly different setup. Not necessarily, I mean, that's a Mozzie over to a mute. I'm just like, wait, do they want to pull some kind of SSG roam on Oregon? But no, it's not to be. We're back up in Laundry, so we'll see how this one differentiates itself. TSM aren't necessarily in a really bad spot here. Again, I mean, they haven't won a round on defense yet, so I think that's the code they still need to crack. Despite the inherent advantage given to them by Oregon, it's not something that's necessarily given to you for free. It's earned, and so far they haven't done that. We're seeing a Thatcher finally do come out from Penguin for the first time. I don't necessarily know if Parabellum expected TSM to run the same site back, and this map or this operator setup certainly seems like it wasn't necessarily intended for this, unless Eska is going to, buck from below or something like that. Maybe like the Thatcher can be utilized on wardrobe wall, if nothing else. I don't necessarily think Parabellum expected this site choice from TSM. So if it's a little bit, shifty on Pojo Man's side about the strategy to call, that's cool. But how does TSM finally get on the board on this half?
So TSM will look to try and do this again on their upstairs hold here, and is going to bring a very similar, if not identical, flare towards it here. So the mute will now be brought in, obviously, for Achieved here to try to block things off. There'll be minimal wall mitigation as well if they want to try to slow down things like the attic play and whatnot, but remember, of course, it was nerfed recently, so we aren't seeing that used as much anymore, especially if you have the ability to put some form of hard breach on the top of it. But obviously the impact coming out, a nice little quick trick there also as he opens up a small amount of soft destruction so that the grenade would bleed through and end up hitting that exothermic charge. Great work and a very quick thinking move there from Geo to save the day on that wall.
Yeah, keep that wall shut for as long as you can, and it also still means that you can hold on to Master in games with the only real pressure is, I mean, wait, did he just do it again? Wait.
He could.
He's trying to. He's doing his best job. But if you're able to at least hold things off and keep that wall shut, then you only have to worry about like top white stairs, if anything, if you're still trying to hold that position. Geo coming back in. He knows he won't be able to get that one off this time. It's a little bit over to the left. It's just cutting. He's getting cut off by said couches. So nice try, but it does still mean that that exothermic can't really be used anyplace else, and there's no additional heart breach utility in Parabellum's back pocket to get this to work. So Parabellum now, because they have a little bit of an advantage and it's only from Master side and wardrobe, know that that's probably the best spot to plant, but Kool-Aid's kind of going off a little bit, just holding on to an angle that he's, gone to trophy. So right now TSM They're just waiting for Parabellum to make this move inside because they've got Mercs cross all the way to that open wall.
Valiant attempt there from Geo to try to hold it off for the second time, but not going to be able to successfully block things. And away from that now, Parabellum is much closer to the site in a few other departments also. Spirits continuing to wait this one out, though, as he's going to be held back a little bit closer on the Arsenal push. Merc flirting with a push of his own against the breach that had been made inside of Small Dorms, but not going to be fully confident in it just as of yet here. And also, this is an interesting move. Achieved. Going to try to double tap. I don't know if he goes right for the opening right now, but he's going to wait for a signal to be called here. See if maybe he can grab Eska's going to be the most realistic target, but it looked like Eska will be grabbed out here by Bolo, but he will take down Achieve before going down. Merc as well took down a second member of Parabellum, and a Nitro there has downed Penguin, although he's possible to get revived in a second here once that smoke fades away. Melting can creep right over for it, but they're very quickly running out of players to assist in this nature. Bolo gets a second one now against Eska.
Might as well take the fight outside the map if you don't think you're able to do it inside the map very effectively, and TSM really take it to task. Parabellum only left up is now Melted. He doesn't even have Diffuser. He's probably just going to go from a frag or two if he can nail it, but he already knows there's not really much that he can do about it. Bolo looking like he's getting back into the game, and so is TSM collectively here.
So quick corrections on the mistakes that were made on the first attempt upstairs, and just like that, TSM goes back into control and as well puts them only one more round away from immediately tying things up at what could be a 5-5 scoreline. I was going to ask, what's our follow-up question here? Do they go for the first floor hold, or do they go double down on the laundry hold that we saw at the beginning of the half? And we already have our answer. They're going to be heading back downstairs to try and reattempt that and see if they can fix the mistakes that were made earlier on there as well.
I think they're totally fine adapting around what Parabellum did last time, which just seemed like pandemonium when push really came to shove, and individual kills not being traded. That's the kind of thing I think TSM hasn't really done that much in Map 3. Maps 1 and 2, if there were 2 kills from Parabellum, TSM had 2 kills right back. It happened consistently, and it never really felt as though TSM were in such a massive deficit that they couldn't crawl themselves back out of. But a 1v4, really not going to do that unless you have every individual member of Parabellum isolated and in 1v1 scenarios. So for TSM, that was a good round. You can shore this up. You can make this work. We're seeing Castle, we're seeing Wamai and Jaeger in tandem, and everyone else on the site, with the exception of Chala, probably going to go around. You have the potential to roam, come back, escape back down a staircase, waste some time up top if you really feel like it. But Parabellum, they executed on this site very, very well last time, so TSM just need to be cautious and wary of everything.
We will work our way into our first double-digit round with Parabellum still in control. Like I said, I believe for the first time in this series here, but just about to lose that control very quickly, as TSM also look to take it away from them. TSM bringing back actually a bit more of an open strategy here, as we're also going to see the Castle come back into the flow as well, try and block things off and allow for that extended play to have a bit more of an extended lifeline here and just bleed out those extra bits of utility from Parabellum in the process. Meanwhile, we've got Parabellum spawned out. Let's take a look at how their opening action is going to go, and it's looking like it might be a very quick play for control over towards construction here. Eska as well as Spirits in position, but this could also be just to quickly deal with the deployable shield as well as the ADS positioned on the other side there. Shield's not going to be got by the first nade, however, so Toxic Babe will follow that one off, and that will be blocked away from TSM for 10 or so seconds here.
Yeah, still got 5 more tries to get the shield cleared, and they probably will, but Eska's going to nab Bolo on a really weird run out from Tower. I mean, hey, if I were Eska, I'd be popping a question mark in chat trying to figure out what the philosophy was.
Was that when I put a castle barricade too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, did he impact it thinking that, hey, there's no way they'll think that I'd try and run out here, but he does, and the only thing that Penguin ends up losing is a little bit of HP off a Nitro Cell from Achieved, who has to go right back down the staircase. Not sure what TSM's play was there. They kind of figured that unexpected aggression might catch PB napping on Repel, but it's not to be. Kool-Aid has been down. I'm trying to figure out where that came from. Oh, did he accidentally vault too far down the staircase?
I was about to say, are we resetting?
Yeah,
like,
how did
is that
happen?
back suddenly? Like,
no, it's definitely not.
Yeah. So Kool-Aid's going to get brought back up real quickly. I think it's what Jacob said, though, where he just vaults a little bit too far and bleeds out the rest of that HP.
Jumps from T1 all the way down into T3. Or no, the other way around, T3 into T1. He's just like, ah!
So that will lead to an early down for Kool-Aid, but one that's very easily retrievable. And with that, TSM now sit still with a disadvantage here in the 4v5, one that's fairly workable at the end of the day, considering we are on a basement hold. At the same time, though, the attack in the previous round on this site was absolutely brutal from Parabellum here, immediately dealing with multiple players from TSM and leaving, I think, only 2 or so players in the site by the time Parabellum set foot in it themselves. So TSM need to try and keep this player base alive for as long as possible here so that they can properly fend off the attack, which Parabellum is working up the courage to pull in towards now. And oh, this drone shows up just a second too late as Merc walks right up from the laundry stairs, catches Melted, and with the drone being dispatched, he'll be allowed to scurry back away down those very same stairs and keep himself alive.
Somehow that shield has managed to maintain its presence in elbow despite all of these frag grenades still remaining in PB's pocket, and she just walks up and nails Eska from the top of the staircase. He came so tantalizingly close. Merc again, and she still manages to maintain position down here. He's been a demon across all of backstairs, and we are tied up at 5.
These guys are moving all over the place and picking up kills while moving in the process here. TSM getting away with so many kills that they shouldn't have gotten away with there in that round. And now they tie it back up. They realize very quickly after Parabellum takes the lead, they need to recenter this one if they're looking for a quick closeout on the series. And indeed, they will still be looking for that now as they've equalized things and are going to be heading to the meeting hall in Kitchen to try and solidify a lead as well as map and match point, as well as the qualification point to get them to SI.
God, both teams are really, really close here. TSM close to the 6th Invitational. They can just taste it. It's right there. 2 more wins on defense and they get it. But Parabellum so close themselves to going to a map 4. But the problem is map 4, if we need it, is one that PB don't do very well on and TSM kind of likes. So I don't know how confident Parabellum are right now, but they need to at least ensure that these next 2 rounds go in their favor. Don't even give TSM an overtime chance if you can help it. You're doing pretty good so far. TSM have won 2 straight, but I still think Parabellum overall have just kind of gotten caught with their pants down in some scenarios, and they're still very much in this game.
So let us see if Parabellum can recenter themselves now that we are going to return to an off-site for should be both of these teams as they'll head downstairs into another cafeteria hold for themselves here. TSM will look to try and control things like we said before to get them up onto their 6th round. We're going to be seeing a very similar layout to what was brought up inside of kids' dorms to this one as well, with further emphasis on the Goyo shields. We're going to see once again Jaeger brought into the table, and then both Smoke and Mute brought to the table this time as Mute was incorporated in a few rounds back to replace the Mozzie, and they've been having much better results since then. So he will stay into the fold to try and slow down Parabellum however much it can, despite the nerf to the hard breach capabilities.
Merc had a fantastic round, and we didn't even really get the chance to see much of it because of the antics that Cheeve was pulling last time. It feels
like 3 different people had great rounds, and they just all had great rounds at the same time. That was a problem. So
you can't really watch everything all at the same time.
Observer didn't have a hope in the world to catch that, unfortunately.
Sorry, Nova. I will say, at least for Melted's case, he is doing far better in this game than I anticipated. He's not playing, you don't really want to worry about playing a Nomad on Oregon, so he shifted over to a more aggressive, heavy role in a Yanni. He's doing far better in that position in tandem with someone like Spirits. And Kool-Aid, again, top fragging his Thermite. It still looks like PB is very much in this thing in spite of the detriment that they currently find themselves in. But right now, TSM, they've got utility, they've got plenty of time with which to waste, and all they've got to do is start working from top down. Parabellum have to worry about Bolo first, and then everyone else after, just because of how much shield presence is right now upstairs in pit.
Let's see here. Okay, this will be an interesting one from Kool-Aid. He's going to pop that down onto the ground instead, which should deal with part of this barricade here and open up a open up an opening here for Kool-Aid to try and find out the player that's holding down inside of meeting. No success on actually catching them just yet, but Achala is just out of the POV of these floor markers right now. He's going to be able to find one player challenging out against him from the side doorway, but Achala escapes through the hatch just in time to save his own life there as he started to take some damage.
Definitely enough time for him and the Melusi to make a rotate back to site. 3 members of PB pushing north to south. That's the problem with meeting sometimes, dude. There's plenty of opportunities for you to move in. Toxic Babes notwithstanding. Now Kool-Aid's going to be able to get the rest of this off. Bolo, not certain what the play is there, but at the very least he's prone and keeping his life alive. He's trying to see if he can't get a hatch angle. Merc will be the first one to strike as Penguin goes down, but Kool-Aid is there for the refrag, so Merc can't do anything else. But Bolo still up top. Though. He's still there. So for right now, it's stalled PB out for the next couple of seconds. They need to get their wits about them and figure out how they want to push onto this because Bolo is still up top, has yet to be dealt with, and there's no plant just yet.
Merc trading his life out for time, essentially, and so far it's a good gamble as TSM is getting much better control over the situation, but Parabellum is also repositioning a few players now that they have the intel and this additional time to work on. Melted, great timing on the peak to find out Chala, and the plant from Kool-Aid now confirmed. Here comes the flank up the stairway. What he missed, Melted! Melted looks away at the wrong time, though. but Achieve can't complete the kill. Spirits and Kool-Aid have knocked out everybody else, and Achieve is just going to impact himself in the face. He's going to go down to a sliver of HP. Probably not a hope of winning this one out now as Kool-Aid just sprays in to get that last bullet needed, and instead it's going to be Parabellum to get up on map point first.
Missed timing in the worst way. It looks awkward because it is. Achieved was very nearly able to get at least one, but it's just a fight around a doorway. That kind of stuff is always going to happen, and the rest of TSM seemingly getting caught in really bad angles from Kool-Aid and the rest of PB's attack closer to stage and backstairs. They just got caught in cross angles, dude. They knew somebody was about to come back from Kitchen, or someone had to maybe rotate through split. There were opportunities for TSM to win, but Parabellum got there first, had the crosshairs in those spots, and understood the gravity of the situation. TSM still one round away, but now it's just to force overtime, and Parabellum for the first time in this series are graced by the sunlight of map point.
So let's see if Parabellum can get it done with this one final attacking round they have to put forward here, or will it be overtime to potentially decide PB's fate for the rest of this year's season here. TSM want to end this now, but at the same time, we've got plenty more maps coming up after this one as well. Parabellum, this will only be the first step of a three-step process to complete the reverse sweep against TSM after they took control of the first two maps handily in their favor, especially with Bank going their way at only 7-2. But TSM finally seeming to falter at the hands of Parabellum's attacking side more than anything here on this map. We'll see if they can recenter themselves to at least guarantee overtime, as they are heading back over here towards Kids, where TSM seemingly has found a winning strategy based on the previous plays.
Not to give Parabellum fans any additional hope, by the way, but we have not seen a single map this entire qualifier go to overtime yet. So unless TSM wants to break that trend, which I'm pretty darn sure they do, it does seem like Parabellum at this stage in the game should be able to claim this one, give us to a map 4. It'll still be PB fighting from behind if we need to go to Clubhouse. But right now, it's looking pretty darn good. That entire round streak, it's been on defense so far, 2 for PB, 2 for TSM, 1 more for PB. So TSM need to not allow Parabellum to get another 2 rounds or just a streak off here. There's not really that much momentum in this half so far. It's just been 2 back and forth. But I'm hoping, for TSM's sake, that it's not that big of a mental barrier and they just understand, hey, business as usual, let's just keep working at our own pace here and do what we know our game plan is.
Quick work to open up the attic access here once again for Parabellum. Those mute jammers acting as just a small obstacle more than anything, especially with Thatcher being allowed in play. Penguin is able to assist very quickly in making sure that they do not remain an obstacle for too long. Now starting to suss out the positions of some of these deployable shields here and possibly the players that might sit behind them. The ADS being dealt with quite quickly by Melted. More than likely going to see a frag grenade balled up pretty soon to try and take care of this Goyo shield and gain access to the squad. Flashes in right now just to bleed out the magnets, and there's the frag to knock it out. It's done the job, and as well, a little bit of damage going on to Geo in the process, but he's able to back away before anything serious is done, and the player behind the shield itself, Merc, takes absolutely nothing.
Again, it's a really good attacking pace for TSM. I'm not really concerned about them playing super conservatively. They're playing smart, but again, they can get aggro all at the same moment if need be. Merc has been a hero for TSM, but he's tasked with just staying up there in attic, and there could be a push from that side from 2 players of PB to really cash in on said aggressive nature. And Bolo also maintaining a position inside security, just looking for moments for PB to really swing in and hopefully not be ADSing at the same time. TSM can totally take advantage of something like that, but we're now at a point where PB have yet to do anything, only a little bit of damage to Geo, and still 2 minutes now have been drained.
Seems like a standstill. That is, of course, until Merc decides to move. He goes out, finds the frag on a Kool-Aid, and sets up an advantage for TSM to get them 1 step closer to overtime. Eska wants the trade, but he's also got to be careful of that hatch there, as we've got a flank set up against him, and he can't maintain himself. Merc steps up for the second kill now against Eska, and suddenly PB are falling apart here. They're still trying to trade on the Merc, but no one can get in a position to do so. Penguin steps back inside. He's going to push forward through the attic now, if anything, to retrieve the case, but more importantly, to finally try and control Merc. He'll be brought down to a sliver of HP after the initial fight, and a frag grenade will finally seal his fate, but that's just 1 trade, and they've got 20 seconds left to make this happen.
Achieve knows There's still one back there. If he can make a rotate back up through Attic, maybe he's got a chance. Nitro still will finish off Penguin, but there's an even trade there at the same time. Geo back onto Spirits. It still looks as though TSM can force OT, and they will. I didn't know Esko was about to get baited by a foot, but here we are in overtime.
Overtime has been triggered, ladies and gentlemen, and TSM still has an opportunity to shut down this grand finals in 3-0 fashion and punch a quick ticket.
Normal rules do apply, but all of the fighting, all of the effort that both TSM and Parabellum have put into this third map of the grand final all boils down to this. If TSM win the next two, they're going to Stockholm. They've punched their ticket across the Atlantic to the 2022 Sixth Invitational to join Group C, and if Parabellum win the next two, all they're doing is going to Clubhouse.
So we will see which way we go in just a few rounds here, folks. But like we said, right back to what we expected to see here. We're immediately inside of kids' dorms, but I think the same exact layout here for TSM Utility is going to look identical as well. So it's up to Parabellum to make that Attic push a lot more successful, work their way in successfully, deal with Merc before he's able to trade out two players, maybe even add some extra presence in different parts of the map, whether it's going to be pushing in from the master bedroom into that reinforced wall leading inside of Billiards or somewhere else. Also, Parabellum need to find success in at least one of these areas, as they didn't get it in any at all in the previous round. They were ultimately shut down by TSM with no capability to get into the site. So here we go as the second attempt comes in now for Parabellum to correct against this strategy from TSM.
Pretty sure Achieved might have just been on his cam there for a second, and I don't know if the drone went past him undetected or not, but he'll be applying a power position with a reinforcement down inside Kitchen, and like John mentioned from before, it does seem like TSM on this top floor laundry hold are about to do something pretty similar to how they did it in the last round just previous in round number 12. Again, you can't always rely on Merc to keep on fragging out, but he is currently the highlight player for this team. He has put PB so far down in the grave on several occasions so far in this one. And
what?
I didn't think that Nitro was even going to hit the top, but it does. No more Kool-Aid, and that is your only hard breach gone. That wall is secure. Wardrobe wall is secure. You can't breach anything for the rest of this round, and now PB has to work around that reality.
We don't even have any can openers to use either. They didn't even manage to bring one of those.
Nothing.
So that is just a complete misstep now from Parabellum, and a huge lottery win, you could call it, for TSM in terms of who that Nitro cell was going to pick. In terms of impact, they probably got the best one out of all 5 operators here, as Parabellum has to work around every potential setup with almost no capability to easily take out Utility anymore.
Genuinely makes you wonder why you bring Thatcher in that case. Like, at all. It's like there's nothing you can do. And I don't mind it being brought. It was the right idea, but it's like, well, that op pick was useless. We could have brought something different. We could have had Spirits on a blitz and put someone else on the Finka. There's just, your options are now so limited, and TSM can just stay here and not do anything. They can fortify their position and wait for Parabellum to put themselves in harm's way. A whole bunch of nades attempting to clear shields out of this position right now. Not that many grenades left. I think there's only 2, one for Spirits, one for Melted, and they're not on that side of the map currently, which means attempting to take Attic isn't going to work. Chala was on 2 HP. He's been down. That might have been from one of those nades, but Achieved is going to keep this train rolling. TSM is trying to go to the 6th Invitational, and so far, they look like this first defense may go their way. Chala has been down. I think Geo definitely is in a position to recover him right now, but because the man count is so grievous, and that kill is coming through, I don't even think you need to worry about that anymore. TSM are trying to punch their ticket. They'll be able to do it soon, but it looks like Melted is at least going to keep PB in this for a bit longer.
All right, now you might need him, so think about that Chala res.
Go grab him. Come on, Gio.
The problem is they know Melted, I think, and a few other players are right around the corners. They don't want to risk having that happen in the middle of the res. And it's a good thing, too, as Gio catches Melted right as he hops in through the big window. Penguin going to try his best to support here, but it's not even going to matter. Bolo immediately shuts him down, and that's 1 of 2 rounds secured for TSM.
We're almost there. All those Bolo fans, if you've popped into an Achieved stream ever, TSM FTX is 1 round away from the 2022 Sixth Invitational, and that one was
Nitro.
pretty expertly played. The Nitro notwithstanding, again, losing Habana with nothing to breach at that point is such a pain.
She was like a trigonometry major there with it, maxing out the arc on that thing and everything.
I genuinely thought it was going to like drop off before it hit that
that's
banister.
what I thought too.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, oh no, it's way too low. Like it's not going to plume well enough, but apparently it did.
Oh, the timing was just impeccable. Good stuff Achieved. That man's come alive too. He's kind of had a bit of a quiet day, even though I think he was top fragging for TSM at one point earlier, but yeah.
Second map maybe was.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Can't remember well enough, but I think, yeah, pretty close to it, if not on top there. As we'll be heading into what very well could be the last round of this tournament, ladies and gentlemen. TSM with the lead again here, finally retaking it from Parabellum for the first time since 4-3, I believe. And now able to close this entire tournament out with just one final defensive hold here inside of the basement. This is a site where we have seen a bit of success here from Parabellum as well, but it took some corrections in order to get it. So TSM going to hopefully bring a winning strategy this time, be able to net the win for themselves and push up onto 8.
4 players from TSM sitting on 10 kills or more currently, and the kill count has shifted a little bit into the red for PB. Even though Kool-Aid and Spirits have managed to crack into the double-digit count, it does seem as though players like Eska and Spirits just haven't been as potent in this map as we've seen them be through this entire qualifier. Not the other 2 maps in this series per se, but still they've been fantastic, and it does beg the question if Parabellum simply don't have enough stamina to get through situations like this. The last best of 5 they were in was against XSET and NAL relegations, and that was a 3-0 in their favor. They didn't even lose a map in that case. So they got to find something here. They're not dead. They just don't have any more potential for screw-ups. Otherwise, they're gone.
Smart move there from our player from Parabellum, holding the Freezer Stairs. Eska potentially facing off against a frag grenade early on, and I don't believe any ADS support would have been positioned on those Freezer Stairs. Indeed not the case, so smart move from Eska to back away from that one. And even smarter move from Bolo to quickly preserve the nade, too. Just kind of baiting the noise, I believe, more than anything there, as they both would have been able to hear each other from the top of that staircase. Aside from that, though, it's going to be a relatively quiet first minute of this round. Parabellum quite expectedly a little bit nervous about the situation, so not really trying to throw out any bits of aggression aside from that Freezer Stairs play. They're keeping it locked in the bunker setup as we saw before, and as this worked before for them as well inside of regulation.
Not really using those electric claws on the hatches aside from the one in E-Box. They should be able to get the one in security open without any contest, and that's Geo's job. Utilizing the Hatch Queen to full effect on this basement defense means that they will have plenty of avenues of approach, and even in some cases where Parabellum on defense did use the Kaid to make sure those hatches stayed shut, TSM still moved right in on an E-Box drop and had a round from the clutches of certain defeat earlier in this game already. So clutch potential on attack is still something PB should be very aware of and not necessarily scared of, but still it's going to be a massive deal. Not sure what the Yokai was doing there either, but it'll be easy utility nullified.
So once again, no damage connecting onto any player from either team just as of yet, but that will more than likely be changing over the next few seconds here. You can see as well here, Parabellum just hunting out the drones from TSM as they try to get every bit of intel possible. Great nade against Spirits that banks right into his corner. He's given enough time due to the fuse time on that nade to get away from it and avoid outright death, but still, he's got a sliver of HP and he's playing one of the most exposed positions out of everybody on his team right now. So you will need to be very, very careful about how the next few seconds go. Drone's starting to be a little bit low here for TSM, but plenty to be used in the remaining 40 seconds. They have 4 left here and already have gained a good amount of intel about what the setup looks like. And now we're going to be able to connect onto that first kill for Spirits.
Oh boy, here we go. Achieved with the first one down. Spirits was already on a bit of low HP, but now the toxic canisters have been utilized with still plenty of time, so no more area denial left and no more nitro cells. Explosives are reigning true. It might be time for GG in chat because Parabellum doesn't have much of a chance now. Achieved with yet another kill. It's just Melted in Eska as TSM begins to ensnare the trap. It only falls to Melted. Can he deny for just a couple more seconds? Maybe get Diffuser down. He's got to swing, but TSM have the crossfires. This really doesn't look accomplishable for Melted. He has got to get the 4K of his life, but Achieved will achieve it from long haul, true to his name. Dark Zero, Space Station, Oxygen Esports, and now TSM are going to the 6th Invitational.
So with TSM punching their ticket, that will end